Hello everyone and welcome back to the Harkleroad-Adams channel. We're doing our week 15 home stretch check-in. My name is Drew Hare and we have our analysts Matt Harkleroad and Chris Adams.
Hello.
So we're recording on Saturday the 14th of December, so happy holidays to everyone and to you too as well. The only game that's been played this week so far has been Lamar Jackson and the Ravens once again just rolling over
every team they play.
Pretty much. This week it was the Jets and 5 more touchdowns for Lamar Jackson, but we're going to talk about MVPs and the playoff picture coming up. But before we go any further, it's been about a month since we recorded our last video. What are you guys' thoughts about how the last couple of weeks have progressed?
Yeah, I mean, I think the most interesting thing at this point has been that there's a pack of teams in the AFC that are clinched, basically, at this point. Mm-hmm. There's a pack of teams in the NFC that are clinched. And then there's basically one fighting spot on the wild card. Mm-hmm. I mean, technically, the wild card 2 spot both wild cards in the AFC are technically up for grabs, but it looks like Buffalo might, sneak away with that.
Yeah. Unless they totally fall apart.
Yeah, which technically, mathematically could happen. But
or Buffalo wins the division.
Probably, yeah, which is possible.
They're getting back, yeah.
So again, but it seems like again, at this point, usually with 3 weeks left to go, there's more question marks. I feel like in most seasons than there is now. I mean, you're starting to look, in wherever you check the standings and start to see letters next to names 3 weeks out, which is kind of surprising for a lot of years. And I think there's I said the top tier teams. Then there's a little bit of a gap to these middle tier teams. There's a bunch of them, and then there's a clearly defined line between the worst teams in the NFL at this point, which is kind of crazy. I think that's like the number one thing. I'm just like an overall view is that's a little unusual. It feels.
Yeah, what do you, Chris?
Yeah, I kind of agree with Matt on that. Like the Saints have had the division cinched for what seems like weeks now. You got some clear separation in both conferences, and then you just got some really underwhelming teams, especially in the NFC East and the AFC West. Everybody but the Chiefs.
Yeah, it seems like you're talking about the NFC East is
so bad.
It's so bad, and it's like every team. If you look at both Philadelphia and Dallas, they have both had opportunities to make a jump, take the lead, strangle that division, and they both are like, we don't feel like
we don't care. We don't want to play.
Now, full disclosure, Chris Adams is getting on a flight after this video because he's going to be the third wide receiver for the Eagles this weekend because they literally don't have anybody. Aguilar's not playing this weekend, and Jeffrey's already on IR.
Yeah.
You might as well be at this point.
They had their backup quarterback was lined up as a potential to go in to run wide receiver.
I wanted it to happen. I wanted to see McCown do it.
I wanted it to. McCown, that's right. That would have been amazing.
Yeah, but it's just it's just the Cowboys just cannot get over any kind of hump. There's no consistency with that team.
Yeah, and it seems to be it's not just the offense that's falling apart. It's like literally they can't stop a team from just grinding down the field. But you can't win games. I know it's a pass-friendly league. Right now, it seems like the best teams are running the ball a little bit more. But if you can't stop a team running 3-4 yards every time they touch the ball, you can't win in this league or any other. Like passes or no passes. If you don't need a pass, then that's the best scenario.
Well, and right with that, Dak Prescott is leading the league in passing yardage with Jameis Winston right behind him. So I think that shows you that in this day and age in the NFL, there may be not a stat out there that is more hollow than passing yardage.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you look at like a guy like James Winston. I mean, and how many wins they put together. I mean, he's got 2 guys that are leading in the top 5 in receiving yards, and it's not a coincidence. It's because they are always throwing, they're always behind, and you're right, you can rack up numbers. Philip Rivers has done that for a number of years. He's doing it this year too. And you got, you take a look, Detroit, that was their modus operandi for years and years and years. Get behind and let them air it out. But agreed. It's you look at some of these teams and you're just like, how does this team get better? How does Dallas manage to look pretty good at the beginning of the season and then look like they do now, and then you look and watch their games, you're like, I don't see how this team gets better.
They haven't gotten better. It's been we're literally talking week 15. It's been 3 months. Or almost 4 months. They haven't done anything, they haven't improved. It's not like you've seen maybe every once in a while you see individual play get improved for a couple of weeks, but nothing that's progressively getting better. Yeah.
I mean, I felt like Philadelphia was just going to run away with it just by just by the fact of that Dallas can't seem to do anything.
Yeah.
And yet they
can't seem to do anything either.
They don't.
They
seem
lost to
want
Miami a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
In an unexpected shootout for them.
Yeah. I mean, they should just let another team from another division, and they should definitely reseed the playoffs. Just this one year, okay, guys? Can we do that?
I mean, and NFC West is still, I think we've talked in past videos about the best division in football as of right now, and I don't think anything that has happened in the last 3 or 4 weeks has changed that. I mean,
you could maybe make an argument for the NFC North, just because you've got a little. I mean, yes, San Francisco and Seattle obviously clear 2 of the best teams in the NFC, right?
I agree.
One
in the whole league.
Yeah, and maybe 1 and 2 in the NFC as a whole, right? You can make an argument for New Orleans if they want to. Depends on what week it is, apparently. But yeah, and you go down. The Rams haven't looked great. So right now, you can take stock. Like, whose stock would you take right now? You take the Rams stock or the Bears stock as the third best team in their division, and maybe they're closer right now than Rams fans would hope.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, and you look at Packers still look pretty good. Minnesota's holding on with what they've got. With their big, the fact they had so many games in hand earlier in the season was helping them when they go 500 to the back half. But so I mean, the NFC, either one of those 2 divisions I take right now over just about any team, any division, the NFC or AFC at all, right?
Right.
So,
because you usually just have some really top-heavy teams in the AFC, but not overall divisions that I would say. Chris, any additional comments?
Yeah, I think we're good.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead and shift gears. We'll talk about our MVP picks. So we've got this is the roller coaster of MVP picks as well. We started talking about MVP candidates not named Mahomes. Obviously, that has completely changed, even with Mahomes coming back in the last couple of weeks. Is it Lamar Jackson's to lose at this point?
Yeah, I don't see anybody taking it away from him. The guy's had, he's scoring multiple 5 touchdown games.
Yeah, and even if we say just through week 14, even before his 5 touchdowns on Thursday night, he's just blowing away. I think everybody else.
Yeah, I mean he's got 2 perfect passer rating games, which is impressive from anybody.
Yeah,
right.
Let alone a guy that's supposed to run the ball.
Run the ball,
and does still run the ball a ton.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
And he's not throwing for a ton of yards, right? You look at his stats; these 5 touchdown games. I think he eclipsed 200 on Thursday, but his other couple 5 touchdown games, he was throwing for 130, 140 yards. It's just that offense that they're running. Harbaugh has put him in such a great position to maximize what Lamar does really, really well.
Right.
And Lamar's made strides as a passer this year. So there's the threat of him running. There's the threat of the handoff to Ingram, who's having a really nice year, and then Lamar is just hitting the open guy and making the throws that he needs to and getting those touchdowns. So.
Yeah, there's not a lot of holes in his game at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, he seems to be making you don't get perfect passer rating games and not throw the ball a ton.
Right.
Because, very often, and the reason he's getting them is because his completion percentage is so high. He's doing everything right. He's throwing so many touchdowns.
Making the right decisions.
Yeah.
Yes,
his picks, his interception, turnover, fumbles.
Yeah.
He's not having a lot of those.
Since that Browns game when he had 3 picks, he's
been pretty clean.
Yeah, and they haven't lost since.
No.
Yeah, what a difference a year makes. I mean, literally last year at this time, we were wondering if John Harbaugh was going to have a job.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about him as a potential Browns replacement coach. And this year, he literally might end up being coach of the year this year, just based on what they're able to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's either that, or it's either the Ravens get that, or the 49ers. One of the 2 is going to walk away with that trophy. So,
we can talk about get back to the MVP thing, but I had kind of good segue into coaching there. So last offseason with the coaches, all the rage was we got to hire the hot young guy, right? You had Cliff Kingsbury getting a job, and Freddie Kitchens, and anyone who had any association with Sean McVay ever at any point.
Or even if you ran into him at a Wendy's.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
There's all this talk about getting these hot young minds who are the future of the NFL. Lo and behold, this year, Freddie Kitchens struggling, Cliff Kingsbury struggling, Zach Taylor in Cincinnati struggling. LaFleur's doing a nice job in Green Bay, but that might be more of just Aaron Rodgers becoming Aaron Rodgers again.
Right.
Even McVay himself, the luster has worn off of him a little bit.
Yeah.
Still very good coach, but but you see it's guys like John Harbaugh, Kyle Shanahan, Andy Reid. of course, Belichick, like these veteran savvy coaches are getting stuff done this year.
Tomlin, I mean, heck,
Tomlin,
the fact that they got 8 wins out of that team and that roster with just a revolving door at quarterback at this point.
So again, it just shows you that like when you to build a team, the NFL is such a copycat league, and I've ranted about this before, but that's really not a good way to build a team. Like as a GM, as a owner, as someone who's constructing a team, you've got to find what makes the most sense for your situation. Maybe it's a hot young offensive mind. Maybe it's a veteran defensive coach.
Right.
You know, maybe it is doing an air raid college style system. Maybe it's using a fullback like the Niners.
Yeah,
So.
and and to your point on that, which is I always found interesting, is like it is a copycat league. They always try to catch up, right? But it always seems like the guys that make the trends are the guys that are doing the most with pieces that nobody else wants.
Right.
So like the value of a fullback, right, drops precipitously, right? So the best fullback in the game is on a team. They're like, well, why don't we use that guy? 'Cause he's pretty good at football. Let's put him in there. We'll use him any way we can. Like, oh, we have a quarterback that's not your traditional drop back passer. Okay, we could say we're going to try to force this square peg into a round hole, or you're going to say, let him do what he's good at and see where it goes. And and I think it's the guys that are consistently good at trying to find ways to maximize their overall talent without trying to force it into a system seem to be the guys that last longest in this league. I mean, Andy Reid has been in this league forever, doing just that, like trying to build whatever pieces he can gather, putting them together. I mean, Belichick's probably the best we've ever seen at doing that, right? And these are the guys that can stick around. And if you're looking for something to copy as a copycat, maybe try to follow what those two guys do. Take the best talent they can get. Doesn't matter what position or what prototypical thing you want them to do. And
adapt it.
Right?
Yep. Agreed. So other MVP candidates, I mean, I think that Russell Wilson is still right up there. He's kind of fallen back, but he's been...
I've been talking Russ all season. He's just been really, really consistent. Him and also Aaron Rodgers. Like, can we remember a time where Aaron Rodgers has played this well and has gotten this little pub in his whole career? It's crazy.
Yeah, it's almost like it's almost like no one talks about the Packers right now, which is kind of crazy. Like, I mean, as good as they have been, I mean, they're not playing bad football. They're leading their division, and it's a tough division at that. I don't remember like even seeing like a clickbait headline about them in 6 or 7 weeks.
I think it's maybe just because they are running the ball so well. Aaron Jones has like 15 or 16 touchdowns already, and that tends to like overshadow. And also the fact that it's Aaron Rodgers essentially just has one receiver, Devontae Adams, and it's just maybe just the stats are there, but maybe just not the flash. You know what I mean?
Yep. And the wins are there too.
The wins are there too, and the wins are almost all the time.
Yeah, and you've seen other quarterbacks put up amazing numbers, whereas maybe 5-6 years ago, Rodgers was statistically out ahead of everybody, and it was like the great stats that he would put up versus Brady being Brady, right? If you look at the top quarterbacks, now you're seeing just a proliferation of quarterbacks putting up big numbers.
Yeah, and as far as we talked about the running backs that are the McCaffrey, the Dalvin Cooks, maybe the Derrick Henrys of the world. But I don't think any of them are having a big enough season at this point. Nick McCaffrey's numbers have kind of come back to earth a little bit. Same with Dalvin Cook through the last little struggles that Minnesota's had. So I don't see any running back taking this award. The best wide receiver in the game is clearly Michael Thomas. He's leading, he's got almost 30 more catches than the next guy in the NFL. When he's obviously the only target, really, the only real target, and they're doubling him all the time, and he's still getting 120 catches through 15 games, or 14 games. I don't think it's good enough to win either, and nobody on the defensive side, I don't think, is in the conversation for MVP. So unless Lamar Jackson breaks a leg or something, I don't see it going to anybody but him at this point.
I think he's the odds-on
number 2.
I would say Lamar is the odds-on favorite right now with Russ 2 and Rodgers 3.
That seems fair.
Yep.
Now I'll talk about a guy though who's not going to win the MVP, but I think we got to give a shout out to for really being one of the greatest stories in the second half of the league, and that's what Ryan Tannehill is doing in Tennessee.
The guy is putting up numbers. That completion percentage out of this world. That team looks like the best team in the AFC South at this point. I think they're going to walk. I mean, they got 2 games against Houston. One this week, one in 2 weeks. whoever wins those games. But I mean, if I had to put money on it right now, I'm going to take the Titans in both those games. I just think the Texans haven't looked great, and honestly, if Tannehill what Tannehill's doing is opening up so much for Derrick Henry.
Yep.
Derrick Henry looks like the best running back in the game right now. What you're saying, it's impressive.
Yeah, you've seen the emergence of like A.J. Brown, I mean, as a wide receiver, I mean, literally his first year, and then he goes out, he had about 230 yards and 2 touchdowns last week, just some outrageous numbers. Yeah.
Well, and I think it's getting back to what we were saying before with coaching, right? So, Tannehill was a guy, I liked him coming out of the draft, went into Miami, had some nice years.
Yeah.
Maybe not great, for a while he was sort of that guy who was just a middle of the road quarterback who was good enough to get you to 9-7, but never get you bad enough to get you the top draft pick. But I think maybe in Miami, they were asking him to do too much. They were asking him to throw it all over, to run these pass happy systems. Now he goes into Tennessee, right? Vrabel's a younger guy, but he's an old school defensive style coach. Right, built around the defense, built around the running game.
Out of the Patriot system.
Exactly, out of the Patriot system. So they're not going to ask Tannehill to do too much. I don't want to call him a game manager. I don't like that term. Like for quarterbacks, it's up to coaches to manage games. But Tannehill, they're not going to ask him to be the focal point of that offense. But he has a big arm to loosen up the defense.
Yeah,
and make some plays.
As you were saying down in Miami, I mean, do we remember any big thing that they ever added to Tannehill?
No.
It was always subtraction. They were taking good players they already had away from him.
Yeah,
or he had some injury problems too. I mean, the guy, sometimes you just get the short shrift in where you get drafted.
Right.
And Tannehill's one of those guys where you look at what he was able to do when healthy. And, if you got to take him or Mariota, it's an easy call at this point.
It is, yeah.
They started their season with the guy they put their money into, and, good for Tannehill for putting it together and coming into a hard situation, making the most of it, and making this team a legitimate playoff contender.
Yeah. And we're not sitting here saying that Ryan Tannehill is going to move into the upper echelon of quarterbacks in the NFL here. But, it could be. If you remember, reaching way back on this one, but remember Rich Gannon in, the early 2000s with the Raiders? He was like a journeyman through his career, and then later in his career he went to the Raiders and had a couple of really nice years there.
He was an MVP.
Yeah. So it could be a situation like that.
Yeah. So he'll definitely be ranked in the quarterback rankings.
I think so, yes.
Yeah, I think we'll have to rank him unless somebody decide to go back with Mariota again, which is not going to happen.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
Or if they draft a rookie and start from scratch. But yes, he probably will be back in our rankings.
He has to
next
start.
year.
So we'll see in summer 2020 for that quarterback ranking video. Talking about the playoff picture, I think the more interesting aspect of where we are 3 weeks out, the 2 wildcard spots in AFC and NFC. Let's start with the AFC. Do you guys have who do you think are going to be? Is it going to be Buffalo and at this point?
I mean, that's how it looks right now, unless Buffalo really goes into the crapper the next 3 weeks. But it's theirs. The first spot is there to lose, and I want to give some credit to the Bills. Just having a really good season, but also just in their roster building, right? We talked about this on another show. Tanking is all the rage right now, and copycat league, and for some teams, tanking does make sense. It made sense for the Browns. It might make sense for the Dolphins for what they're doing, but it's not the only way to build a team. And Buffalo, they were kind of right around that 8-8, 9-7 range. They got to the playoffs a couple years ago, realized they weren't going to get anywhere any further with Tyrod Taylor, so they reset a little bit. They made some trades. They maneuvered up to get Josh Allen as their quarterback, and they've added around him. And they seem like they're building a team around him that, plays to his strengths and maybe kind of makes up for some of his weaknesses. So I credit that there's just another way to build a team.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about who's going to be in that 5-6 spot in the AFC. I mean, we've got 2 teams on the AFC South that have a chance, right? It looks like, 3. Sorry, you got one of them's going to win, and then the other 2, one of them probably going to
between the Colts, Titans, and the Texans.
It's hard to figure out though.
It could be right, but I think, if I'm not wrong, Pittsburgh plays Buffalo. And the next
they play this weekend.
This weekend, right? I think that game is going to tell you a lot about who's going to get that spot. I think if Pittsburgh wins, I think they'll be 9-5 at that point. And with the inside shot, with the win over Buffalo, I think if Buffalo wins, I think they're a clear favorite to get in. And then again, when we talk about the other position, I think if the Titans and Texans split their 2 games that they've got coming up, that might be, maybe both of them get in somehow. It's actually pretty interesting.
I think so too.
And because I think all those spots could be anyone at this point.
The Texans are just so hard to figure out.
Yeah.
They
World
got
beaters, and then they got smoked by Denver last week.
Well, I think, and then get back to Deshaun Watson. I really like Deshaun Watson. He's a really strong quarterback. One thing is, when he has a bad game, he is bad. And he hasn't really figured out how to eke out a game when he doesn't have his best stuff. And that's what, that might be the thing that separates him from being a really good quarterback and going to that elite status, is the best of the best can, throw 4 interceptions and then put together, two score touchdown drives in the 4th quarter to win a game, right? And he hasn't really been able to do that. When he's off, he's pretty bad, and the team kind of struggles.
So you're looking for a Matt Stafford in your life. A guy who can throw 4 interceptions and then still win a game.
Yeah. Because Watson was just so bad for the first 3 quarters, and he padded a lot of stats in garbage time, but to make it look better at the end of the day. But man, just so bad. Yeah, because you just don't know which Texans.
They can't
play this weekend.
They can't keep him off their back. Their defense is always injured.
He's getting hit a lot.
Yeah, I mean they could be good. If you look at them on paper, they should be pretty good.
They should be.
Will Fuller shows up in some games and doesn't show up for others. I know he's been a little dinged up, but it's kind of they're a weird team to watch. And I kind of feel like about that whole AFC South. Besides maybe the Titans seem like they're rolling in the right direction.
They've got momentum.
And that's why I kind of think they're going to win that division.
And the Colts just are, they're there.
Yeah,
this is kind of what we thought they'd be when Luck retired. And, Brissett had a couple of decent games, but, we know what he is and we know what he's not. The defense is pretty solid. They got some players there, but they're there.
That's right. They exist.
They are a team.
And exist in the playoff hunt. How about the NFC?
I think it's a little clearer cut there. You've got a couple teams with outside shots. Technically, I think the Bears aren't mathematically eliminated. But it's probably, whoever wins the AFC, or whoever wins the NFC West, which looks like it's going to be San Francisco at this point. So it's going to be Seattle was going to have one of those, guaranteed right at this point. And then I think it looks like Minnesota's going to be the team.
Rams are still in the mix.
Rams are, they're on the outside. It's a little hard for them to sneak in too, unless Minnesota falls apart, which is possible. Possible. Kirk's playing a lot better right now. He's kind of had an up and down season. He was horrible, then he was great, and now he's back to being Kirk Cousins. So
I think it's safe to say that the wild card team is not coming out of the NFC East.
No,
mathematically
it's impossible.
Can we just eliminate the NFC East
champion? At
least make them not have a home field. Is that possible? Yeah, I don't want to see a game at Jerry World against a team that's way better than them.
The last time we did have a champion or a division champion that ended up having a losing record was
Seattle. It was the Beast Mode game.
It was, so let's go ahead and shift gears. Browns talk. We'll give a couple minutes to talk about them. Obviously, they've definitely improved, but they're now at what? So they 6 and 8 now?
Yeah, 6 and 7.
6 and 7.
Yeah, have a chance to get to 500 tomorrow. They still have an outside chance.
Yeah, they have to beat Baltimore, which no one but them has done.
Yeah.
So at least they'll be home for that.
But even then, even if they were to win out, it's still, you need a lot of help. You need a team like the Titans again to roll through theirs and beat the Texans twice. You need Pittsburgh to lose, or like I said, Buffalo to tank. One of them is going to tank. One of them needs to tank the rest of the season, basically. So it's a tough call. It's a tough row to hoe. I still think that maybe they need to make a decision to coach. You can't be wearing T-shirts flaunting the fact that one of your players hit another player in the head with a helmet. You can't do those things as an NFL head coach and also be as bad of a head coach as you've been. You can do one or the other, right? Maybe, and survive. What sane NFL franchise keeps a guy around that has had so many foibles on and now off the field? What are you getting out of him?
So let me say this. The Browns are not boring. right? They are certainly an interesting
They
team
never are.
to talk
They never
about.
are.
Yeah,
Regardless of
exactly.
whether you're
Right.
0-16 or 7-9 or even where they are now, they're never.
And I think what this season has shown is that the real Browns are somewhere between the crap that they've been for all these years and the high expectations that they had to start the system.
Yep.
So somewhere in the middle. I know that's not super popular on that god-awful website Twitter, but like they are kind of a middle-of-the-road team right now. To kind of Matt was saying, the Freddie decision is going to be tough. If they win out and go 9-7 and eke into the playoffs, he's probably coming back. If they lose out and finish 6-10, including losing to the Bengals, he's probably gone. Either of those things are probably unlikely to happen, so kind of making the call on that. And I think, John Dorsey and Jimmy Haslam have to ask themselves two questions. They're like, one, are the mistakes that Freddie made this year a function of being a first-time head coach, and can they be improved? Can he make improvements? And two, who are you going to replace him with? Right? Because from my standpoint, firing Freddie and replacing him with some other hot coordinator who's never been a coach before, that's not really much of an upgrade in my mind. Now, if they can get Ron Rivera, maybe even Mike McCarthy, that's a little bit more intriguing because this team could benefit from a more experienced voice.
Yeah, and I think if you look at what their season as a whole, you look down the games that they've won, the games that they've lost. There wasn't a game that they won that they shouldn't have won on paper, except for maybe the Raven game. Now that looking back on it, but at the time it didn't feel that way.
At the time they were similar.
They were, and I just feel like
they've definitely lost their games they shouldn't have.
Yes, exactly. Yes. And every time there's a coin flip game or a coin flip moment in any game, they've lost those coin flips. And whether that be, who does that go on? Is that a player problem, or is that a coaching problem? Generally, when games are that close, and especially coming down to the end of a game, you got to put some of that on the coaching. And I think that's what makes this a little different than a team that just had so much expectation and didn't pull through. But it'll be interesting.
Having unrealistic expectations would have been a reason for them to start 1-4. Right. It's not an excuse for them to be losing to Duck Hodges in November.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, and that's the kind of stuff. Or blowing a game where they clearly were the better team on the field numerous times this season. Not just once, not just twice, but at least 3 times that they have lost a game that they were the better team on the field for the entirety of the game and still managed to find a way to lose. And you can blame some of that on Baker's interceptions and turnovers and those kinds of things. But ultimately, there's been some horrible play calling, horrible play management.
We talked about Seattle. They might be one of the second or third best team in the entire league, and the Browns were whooping them. Earlier this season, and then just let them back in and made a lot of stupid mistakes.
But I guess on that same note, maybe we should talk about other coaches that might be able to.
Because since talk about coaches on the hot seat. Ron Rivera, you brought him up. He was. I don't think I expected it to happen, at least in comparison to some of the other coaches that potentially are on that hot seat. But now Rivera's out. Obviously, we knew that Gruden from Washington is out there too. So, is Gase next? Who else are you guys thinking?
I think Shermer has to have a short.
Shermer's gone.
He's got to have a short. At least he has to be. Not that I want Shermer back at the Browns. Not saying that.
I think
these are two different questions.
Pat Shermer has now shown that he is an offensive coordinator, and
at best. I think Gase is on that list, but I feel like they give him more time. I just feel like.
Your starting quarterback had mono this year.
I just feel like he's going to get more time. I feel like the teams I were worried about that had new coaches going into this year besides the Browns, I think they all keep their guys. They've all kind of stepped up and looked a little better throughout the season, like a team should. That when you have a young head coach and a young team like the Bengals, he's made they've made the right calls down there as the season has worn on, and
maybe the Lions.
Maybe the Lions,
just because they just seem to just despise Patricia. They don't. I don't really see them playing hard. They do have moments where they do play hard for him, but it doesn't seem like you still get all the rumblings and grumblings on a day-to-day basis.
And I think I said this on another one. When it comes to Patricia, it's anytime there's a guy who's revolutionizing anything, if it doesn't go well, you're fired. That's just the way. If you come in and you say we're going to revolutionise how you coach, and then it doesn't work well, you're gone. Like that.
And maybe having Stafford be hurt for as long as he has, maybe that buys him at least into the start of the next season.
Or you have all these Belichick disciples who come into a new place and think they can be Belichick without Belichick's track record. Like, you know, you can be. That was a problem with Eric Mangini. That was a problem with McDaniels in his 1 year. It's like you can come in and be, you know, try to be a hard ass like that, but when you don't have the credentials to back it up, it's a hard sell.
Oh yeah, and there's no way Dallas keeps that guy, right?
Oh yeah.
No, Garrett. Yeah,
Garrett's gone.
Garrett's gone,
and
Jerry Jones is already talking like.
Yeah, and they probably, just because it's Jerry Jones, elevate their offensive coordinator.
I don't know. Jerry Jones is always he wants to splash.
Yeah,
I think they go with the college route. Lincoln Riley's been mentioned. Urban Meyer has been mentioned. I would be surprised if that happens, but I don't know. You can never tell. If you want a maybe kind of a dark horse coach to get fired, I'll throw out Bill O'Brien in Houston.
Interesting.
Talking before, I said before, that team has underachieved. They're not like, so we don't know what to make of them. There's always one every offseason. There's a coach that gets fired that you don't expect.
Yeah, I almost feel like that already happened with the Ron Rivera firing.
Maybe.
A little bit.
Not that I'm saying that O'Brien's going to get fired, but you're saying to choose.
That's why the next 3 weeks are going to be very interesting for him because last year did they win a playoff game last year?
They did. Yeah.
They did. They won one. So I mean if they win the division and gets essentially status quo, I think he comes back.
Yeah, I mean their schedule is brutal the rest of the way out. I mean they got two against the Titans. I think they have New Orleans in the middle. Yeah. Like that is not fun.
No.
So I mean it's going to be wild as always this offseason. It doesn't feel like there's going to be any less firings than usual.
Yeah, it sounds about right. Maybe 4 or 5, and then just continue to roll on. Any final thoughts or any kind of rants or anything?
Well, should we talk about our playoff picks? Our Super Bowl picks?
Yeah,
I don't know. We might.
For one of us will be more than happy to, the other one will not. So you had Saints Patriots.
Yeah.
A little rocky, but obviously you can still see a path.
There's no reason to go against that at that point. I mean, neither one of those teams looks like the best team in their respective league right now. But that the team that's playing the best in early December isn't always the team that makes the Super Bowl. Actually, when we were talking about the Ravens earlier, as great as they're playing right now, the maybe one cautionary thing for them is they could be peaking too soon. And Belichick's going to get the Patriots and Brady, get them ready in the playoffs. Hard to bet against them.
Yeah.
Saints, I think a lot of it comes down, can they get home field advantage, which is maybe looking a little bit more difficult now with that loss to San Francisco. Because they're a different team on the road on the home. But they still got Breeze, Michael Thomas. They've got 2 giant chips on their shoulders from the last 2 playoff seasons. So yeah, they may that. Patriots Saints might not be the top pick right now, but I'm still very confident with that.
Yeah. The Bears aren't mathematically eliminated from the playoffs.
Well, we'll give you partial credit.
That's something. So yeah, Bears Chargers not going to happen.
Yeah, but you talked last time, and I think we saw a preview of it a couple weeks ago. But you talked about like an alternative one would be Baltimore and San Francisco. Yeah, and I think that they played a really hard game in the rain a couple weeks ago, and I think that would be a really fascinating game.
Yeah, I think it'd be fun. I mean, that game was fun to watch, and it will be fun to watch again. I think, and hopefully it'll be on a dry field next time. But I mean, those look like the clear 2 best teams in football right now, if you ask me. With maybe Seattle and the Packers are there, and and Kansas City's putting it together a little bit. I'm not sure. Like there's it's weird this time of year because again, good coaches always find a way to get their best performances out of their guys towards the end of the season, and you've got some of the best that have ever done it in the AFC right now. So
yeah, and I think once the matchups are set, like 2 or 3 weeks when we have another playoff preview video coming up in about a month or so, I think that's going to be really interesting, and I think that'll provide a little bit more clarity about.
And there's always an injury surprise too that happens, unfortunately, right? I mean, as good as the Ravens are, as much as Lamar Jackson runs, they're just one hit away from Robert Griffin III being on the field. So
it's true.
That is true.
And no one wants to see that.
No one wants to see that.
Rant time. Or are we just going to talk, or is this now officials talk?
We can do that. Again, it's baffling the things that they're doing occasionally. I mean, I know I watch a lot of Browns games, but they literally ruled a fumble on the field when a guy was on his back, like on the ground, holding the ball, and they called it a fumble, and only till like a quarter later did they say, "Oh no, we meant interception." Like, how do you do that? And it's like it's not even just like who cares, that play didn't matter in the grand scheme of things on that game, but it's been like that. It's been baffling decisions. Like when you're looking and you're watching it and you're like, they get a chance to review whatever it is. If it's a clear pass interference, they don't want to change their mind on it, or it's just like it's crazy how consistently wrong it feels like they are. Like when with these toss-up calls, and you're like looking at it and you're watching it, and the guy and they all have their analysts now that their rules official and analysts, and they're all like, yeah, this is crazy. I've never seen anything like it.
I mean, I'm just happy that they've actually started overturning, getting pass interference calls.
Yeah, if they're going to make that a rule, then you should actually use
absolutely.
Yeah, actually, in their credit, in the Browns Bengals game last week, when it looked like Baker had thrown that interception, and then the review, clearly the guy bear hugged Odell before the ball got there, and they correctly turned it around.
To that same point, how did they not call that? Like, it's crazy. It doesn't make any sense. But I don't know. We could do officials talk as a video series for go through.
I mean, look for that content on the Harkleroad-Adams channel. But.
Do what the NFL isn't doing on their own. How about you?
I have another random rant.
Go for it.
Actually, I'm not sure I've really heard anyone bring this up, but it's something that's kind of bugged me is active rosters in the NFL. Why are they capped at 46, right? It's football is a dangerous sport. People get hurt. Why not give teams and coaches access to the full complement of their 53 players? What benefit is there to anybody by saying you can only dress 46? Like, I don't know. Like, yeah, I think teams might, like we talked about fullbacks before, right? I'm a big proponent of fullbacks, as Matt and Drew know. I think that when you're within the 5 yard line, 5 yards and in, or third and goal on the one, it's asinine to not have a fullback there to just lead block on that.
Yeah, but
we're not going to use a fullback.
Right.
Wrongly, but part of the reason more teams don't do that is because they don't want to waste a roster spot.
Right.
And a guy who's going to do that. But like if you
because then you get in a situation like the Jets do, and they don't have any wide receivers.
Right.
Like so, you've got to choose what you have, and that's a good point. It's interesting. Interesting thought.
I just don't know what anybody gains from only being able to dress 46.
Yeah, I can't imagine it's like a financial hit or anything like that because they're still paying the players.
It's such a random number, like 7 people who can't play. Okay. Sure.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, I don't know, it's been done that way forever, so you don't think about it. But I mean, why not 50?
Yeah.
At least it's a random number.
Yeah.
I like it. You'd been teasing it before the video started,
Yeah.
but you had a rant, and that
was not expected.
No.
I wasn't expecting it.
No. Any final thoughts before we wrap up?
No, it should be a fun. There's a lot of good matchups. The NFL did a great job scheduling.
Backloading the schedule.
Especially with like
Division
there's
games.
a lot of division games like where teams haven't even seen the team yet,
Right.
Like they're not, the Titans and Texans aren't the only ones that are playing 2 games against, like the Browns played the Bengals twice in the last 4 weeks of the season. Things like that are happening for most of the teams. And it's it makes it a whole lot more interesting. I mean, it would be even more interesting if there were closer division races, but it should be a lot of fun.
I think so too. Well, so here's the schedule. So obviously we're recording, just before week 15 for most of the teams. So we got about 3 more weeks, and then we'll be back for a playoff preview. So, all right. Well, for Matt and for Chris, my name's Drew. How about your Twitter handles? What's your Twitter handle?
I'm at Matt Hark.
I'm at the C. Adams.
And I'm at Mr. Andrew Hare. Thanks for watching. Take care, everyone.